and welcome to Castaway. And this episode's a little different because there's a lot of editing in it. And the reason for that is it took me forever to work out how to build the circuit for the top of the lighthouse. Now, rather than show you the 3 hours of struggling that it took me to get this working, I've edited it to show you the versions that didn't work and how eventually I came around to the version that did work. So, let's get started with some of the things that went horribly wrong. So this was my first idea for a lighthouse, and it was pretty simple. It was a glowstone block surrounded by 4 pistons. The pistons would go up and down, blocking the light out on the various directions. And for some reason I'd got it into my head that a comparator would work somewhat like a timer, but it just doesn't. And I have no idea why I thought comparators worked this way. I was trying to get it to take 2 different signals, turn on and off, and it just didn't work. So that was abandoned in favour of using a simpler system that was redstone lamps and redstone repeaters. So it's a simple repeater loop that controls when the lamps flash. And this works. However, there is a problem with this, and that is, how do you turn it on and off? Well, you can't without interrupting the circuit, and then that means there's no power running through the circuit, so when you turn it back on, nothing happens. So this idea is fine for the actual lamps, but doesn't work for controlling the lamps and controlling when they come on and when they go off. For that, I created a daylight sensor, and I realised that I could use a daylight sensor and a piston to interrupt the flow of a circuit. But you have to then put a NOT gate in, which is powering a block with a redstone torch on it, and then that means that when there's power going in, the redstone torch goes off. When there's no power going in, the redstone torch turns on. So effectively it reverses the signal coming into it. However, how do you use that to control those lamps? What you don't do is this. So by this stage I was going kinda crazy, and my idea was that I would have this timing circuit, and then branching off the timing circuit I'd be controlling these redstone torches, and then in a ring above the redstone torches would be the lamps, and that I could control the circuit by raising blocks up and down. Now in theory, yes, this would work, but I would have needed 4 pistons, 1 for each branch with a torch on it to interrupt the signal, and at this point I was pretty much just playing around and had lost really any idea of what I was actually doing. I was basically just rebuilding the same circuit over and over again, throwing pistons in to try and get it to turn it on and off, and it just wasn't working. So I went back to the beginning, and this is how eventually I got it sorted. So I've demolished everything, and I'm going to start from the beginning. So, a daylight sensor. That needs a few blocks to come out, and then it needs to be knotted. So putting power into this block actually turns this redstone torch off. When the daylight sensor thinks it's night time and there's no power getting through, that will turn on. So that's how we turn the thing on and off. So it's daylight, lighthouse isn't on. It's night time, lighthouse is on. Now we put that into our piston, and our piston is going to be pushing a block. night time, that block goes out. Daytime, that block goes in. And so what we need to do is work out a way of this block being here, meaning that the circuit is on. Right, so what I'm going to do is a very basic idea of what I think we need. So I can power that block, can't I? So I'm thinking if I put that there, and I'll just make a brief circuit around it. I'll put another repeater in there, just so there's enough delay to see what's going on. And I think, right, so that block is keeping the power to that circuit. But when it's daylight, that circuit doesn't work. When it's night time, it does. And I need there to be a little blip of power into this circuit at the same time to get it running. Now at this point I start going wrong again, and I waffle on about comparators and how to get power into that circuit to restart it, which is actually the wrong way to do it. The right way to do it is what I eventually come across an hour later. Right, I finally got this thing sorted. Da-da-da. Essentially by splitting it in two. So this is very much like it was before, except it no longer goes around in a full loop. So power comes in here, lights these blocks, sets off this repeater which is on the delay, which then lights these blocks, and this repeater which is on the delay, which then lights these blocks, this repeater that's on the delay, and these blocks. And so it goes, light up blocks, light up blocks, light up blocks, light up blocks, stop. Now the reason it can do that is because the timer is now over here. So this is the timer that's essentially always running, and it's flashing this repeater here, and this repeater here isn't connected to anything, but that's because it's daylight. If I simulate nighttime by turning off the power to this, the sand block pushes out. The repeater is powering the sand block, so there's a pulse going through here. And as you can see, that lights up this. Now it's a bit quick at the moment. I can slow it down by essentially slowing down the pulse that comes in. So all of this would be hidden away in the tower, and then that would simply come down and power this, and that's it. That is how the top of the lighthouse will work. So, and when it becomes daylight again, so this sensor's powering this block, it turns off. So you don't need to build a piston into the lighting rig you just use the piston to separate the timer from the lights, and that seems to work. So you don't have to worry about sending it a power pulse, because all you're doing is connecting the timing circuit to the light circuit. They're now two separate things. So when the piston activates, the lights flash in rotation. It's as simple as that. As simple as that, I say. It's just taken me about an hour to work it out. And in the end it was as simple as just going, oh, well, what I need to do is get the block in between the timer and the lights. And that's what I did. So now we can build a tower for the lighthouse. And then work out how to cram all of this into the top. And this is just to show you that it does work automatically. So the moon is coming up, the sun is going down, and the lighthouse turns on. How cool is that?